Wildwood just took this thing that's been the #1 selling destination trailer for the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years in a row and knocked like 10 grand out of it. All right, one. And welcome everybody. Josh the RV Nerd of Bish's RV down here at Salem Wildwood today. This is essentially going to be an alternative version of something like the 44 View. But if you don't know what that means, what they did here is they basically made something with maximum campsite window coverage, custom tuned to be really ideal at a destination location. Now, like I said, compared to the traditional like 44 View model, they peeled about 10 grand out of this thing because there's so many people that like, they looked at it, they're like, man, I really like this, but it just didn't fit the pocketbook. And I get that. The thing is, they had to make some accommodations to get there. But what they did overall, I think was really smart. I don't feel like they gutted it. It doesn't look like they just took it and stripped it down. The things where they deleted stuff to save cost, they've replaced with other things that are in some cases more functional. There's actually some aspects of this RV that I prefer better than the 44 View, ignoring the fact that it's 10 grand less necessarily here. But we're going to cover all that in more detail. If you're not familiar with any of that, we have this wide body, extra tall thing. It's really not made to be towed around. It's made to get there and park there, which I always think the phrase destination travel trailer is a bit of a oxymoron. But it provides you all the looks of your campsite. It can be a great couples kind of destination rig, but it also has lots of guest space and can potentially work with a family with 2 extra large lofts included on it as well. I actually think what's interesting is this one has a little more storage than the one with maximized windows because they had a little more wall space to work with. On a screaming hot summer day, I'm sure all those windows are still going to be quite warm in there, but maybe not as warm as the one that had literally the world record for most square foot of window coverage ever done. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I'd love to hear from you as we go through this. Let me know what you think, where they nailed it, where they failed it, and what you changed given the opportunity. And these big suckers, they have so many awesome looking focal points. I never know where to start. So I figured I would start by coming out of the bathroom because, hey, why not? Looking over here at this big mega slide over on the driver's side of the RV, because this RV intentionally has no campside slides, which makes it extremely park friendly. If you're going to, have something at a RV park as a destination model, it is very nice to not have any slides on the campsite to really maximize your patio area. A lot of people like to build porches and decks onto these things, and it just creates an amazing opportunity for that. Now, if you couldn't tell from the shift in the camera view there, I actually popped a squat at this sofa. Overall, again, the floor plan, pardon me, little, like I just chugged some water and apparently I had weird water burps. That's apologies. Anyway, I think that's one of those human things that happens to a lot of people, but we act like we're not supposed to talk about it. I don't know. Obviously, maximum campsite window coverage here. We also, of course, have that power televator. Again, they didn't really get cutthroat. They just got really intelligent and they didn't go over the top of things, but they still included that electric space heater. You'll find another one of those up in the bedroom, and I know they work because despite the fact that it's 80 degrees today, somebody left those on in here, and I am sweating to the oldies like Richard Simmons right now, ladies and gentlemen. But again, I mentioned they made a couple changes compared to the 44 View. Let me hit on a few of these real quick, and I'm not going to hit on every single individual object, but like they went from solid surface counters to thermofoil. If you really look at this, they deleted maybe one window over here above the entry door, but the thing is that actually allowed them to grow the entry door. So the sliding patio door is actually now a little bit taller than it used to be. Frankly, I'm okay with that, especially, this is actually still a stick-built structure. So if you want to decorate this wall somehow, you want to put the Live, Laugh, Love sticker up there, like it gives you some opportunities. And they did still, obviously you have the blackout privacy shades all over these things. Instead of having whole house power shades, only the uppers are power shades now. The lower windows are no longer power shades. But I don't need the lower windows to be power shades. I can reach them. In case you're curious, yep, that is Mr. Hunter over there himself. People ask all the time, like, what do you think of these other people? Hunter and I became like buddies. We both realize that we are very blessed to have a very cool job that we get to do to provide for our families, and he's just another Midwestern dude, you know. We always get along very fine. Heck, we play the same games on our phone. We're playing Clash Royale, if you're curious. Anyway, working our way around here. The ceiling fan up top, apologies if that causes a little bit of potentially shadowy light flicker in some areas for some people. I know that some individuals have some sensitivities, including Cousin Garrett, the RV Nerd video editor. I do like the kitchen setup on this because it's not completely symmetrical, but it's got all the right junk in all the right places. Like, and what I mean by that is like your stovetop is not smashed directly against like a pantry or refrigerator's sidewall. So it just creates counter space and room for pots and pans handles on both sides there. No traditional dining in this one. You will see that they really rely pretty heavily on the dining bar to accomplish that. They still have stuck with the dimmer switch lighting. We still have a 30,000 BTU centrally ducted air system. So that's dual 15,000 BTU airs. What's kind of cool though, no pun intended, is both air conditioners are utilizing what's called the RV airflow system, which historically was an aftermarket airflow efficiency upgrade that they have started actually just including from the factory, because you have a ton of cubic foot of space in this RV. You have a lot of window coverage, and they want to make sure that you can actually cool a space. Now, I've not been in one of these in the summertime for an extended period with the air conditioners running. I don't personally know how well it works. However, there have been a lot of Salem Wildwood destination trailer owners out there over the last couple of years. So I would kind of ask you folks, if anyone who is an existing Salem Wildwood Lodge owner, what has your experience been with these? And as you're seeing, this thing folds open into a mega lounge. Like, this becomes one gigantic monster sleeper. As if this thing needed any more sleeping capacity, because between the private front bedroom and the dual double lofts, it already has a ton of sleeping capacity. One of the other things I really like here is, even though you're not going to use this space all the time, like if you are going to use this mega lounge as a sleeper, having a place to stuff some blankets or something can be kind of handy. They're just really good at finding opportunities to use those hollow spaces. And this is kind of another one of those, because the sofa sort of has to wrap around the fascia of the slide out. So the back section of this opens up. They did shallow this up a little bit from what it used to be, but it was so deep that like you would lose stuff in there. It would become very hard to reach all that crap. And sometimes you just, it's also got to be functional. I don't like wasted space. I don't like the theory that there's actually storage in there that's not being utilized, but I do need to be able to get to it. You know what I mean? The stairway to heaven back here to loft number one. This is the rear loft, as it were. I was kind of curious. I didn't know if we'd have like a central vacuum system or something built in. I don't see anything like that there. I'm kind of curious what's under these stairs. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe they use that space outside somehow. We'll get there. I do appreciate that they actually just include a light switch here for the upper deck. And it's at a location where if you do have little kids here or grandkids visiting, you can just go, lights out, kids. Which is very different from going like, pow, lights out, kids. That's never okay. Now, the split rear double mega loft right here actually is kind of interesting. I think it could be really fun because it is, in a sense, one open loft, but with all of the tote storage that you have, you've created a couple very private spaces. And you do have air conditioning ducting directly above you right here. They actually, it's interesting. So you see the big wooden box that goes vertically against that wall where the power outlets are located? That is a central air duct going down into the bathroom below this right here. So they do make sure that every place does have its own climate controlling. And just to give you a size reference, how does a big chubby goofball fit up here? Well, actually better than I thought I was going to. This mattress, this is frankly better than most RV mattresses that I sit on most of the time. I bet this is probably more comfortable than what's up front in the main room. And you're about to get an extremely flattering up the belly look at me here. But I am actually very impressed with how long these are. I realized I also just did a chubby guy power sit-up in here, and I'm ducking a little bit. I'm not going to try to oversell this and under-deliver it, but I'm actually fitting up in here pretty well, all things considered, you know? And I don't use the fisheye wide-angle lenses, so this might not be the most amazing-looking footage, but I do try to represent things correctly and in a very real fashion. I want you to know there's also some TV hookups over there in that corner. You may notice that privacy curtain as well. If you do want to close all this up here off to kind of privatize things, you can. Sitting at the top of the steps, I kind of like the view up here. Like if I was a kid hanging out on family video night, I could actually see this little perch kind of being my little favorite spot up here. I don't know. I kind of like it. Maybe that's why, you know, how cats like to sit up in high positions and look down on people. I also think that it's just the way that cats like to judge well, I think the cats look at humans and they don't call us humans. I think they call us flesh peasants. I think they're like, that's right. Stand below me, flesh peasant. That's how I imagine cats sound anyway. Like every James Bond evil villain. That's a pivot door, by the way, just due to the location and the way it interacts with other things. It's the smartest, best solution that they really had to go by here. This lower bathroom is a little bit different from the 44 view. I love that visual. Walking in, they actually, they designed that mirror based on my belly. It's big and round. Is what's going on. Now, porcelain foot flush stool right here it's just extremely fluffy friendly. As you can see, there's a lot of space to go around here. And you might notice this is a one-piece fiberglass molded shower. It's interesting. When they went away from the two-piece and a biscuit shower, went to the one-piece shower, warranty claims fell off the face of the map. I love it. I love that they stuck with it because it worked better. I love it. You might notice, though, because the loft above us, the headroom's a little limited, but I stood in that shower with my shoes on, still could scrape my scalp with my fingertips if need be, and since we don't have a skylight, they included the extra lightsaber fusion beam lighting up here to make sure that everybody can see what they're doing. Now, a couple extra little details. Over here, just behind the toilet area, you might have noticed how I reached up and flipped something down. Just a couple extra little towel hooks. Just something simple, but I like how they decorated this. And I can guarantee you, people are going to rip this door off of here. This door is mounted like a drawer. But I think a lot of people are going to try to pull it straight. They make it slide so that you can actually access the entire thing with the toilet in the way. And as you have noticed, that is a huge closet or, obviously, washer, dryer, prep space. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this RV does not have an actual onboard holding tank for the washer, dryer. It would be a oh, you're just going to be difficult, aren't you? Difficult, lemon, difficult. It's it'll be a direct plumbing access thing. Well, since the cabinetry doesn't want to hold itself open, I'm going to have to do a little bit of live opening cabinetry on camera, which normally I don't do because I think it's very clunky and weird. Okay, converter box location down here, out of the way, but accessible when the slide is closed. That makes some sense. What do we got going on down below? Just some serious wide open space. If I had my way, I did not mean to do that. Crap! That's why I don't like to open cabinetry on camera. I'd leave one side of this open for like a wastebasket space, but that's just the little nerdy things that I'm always looking for. A lot of people are like, what is your fixation with wastebaskets? I mean, I use one every single day, several times a day. So not having one, I can figure it out, but it's nice to just have that solution handled, you know? So this is kind of back to where the video began right here. We've already sort of talked about the living room. Let's get over here into the kitchen space. Obviously, we have this huge extended dining bar. And because I haven't put everything back together yet, there's extra stuff on the table. Let me get that out of the way. There we go. At least you get to see that huge countertop can hold a lot of stuff, but it is also doubling potentially as our dining space. It comes with a pair of these kind of low back, almost director's chairs, kind of not quite a stool, not quite a chair things. If you don't need all of these, or if you just don't flat out want them, that actually can be a nice wide open space down there for like dog, cat, bed stuff. You know what I mean? That can become a little bit of a pet palace depending on what it is exactly you need out of your RV. I was almost expecting a farm sink. I'm kind of surprised to see a split sink. I don't know. I haven't asked this question in a while. Split sink or farm sink? Which one do you think would work better in here? One thing I do appreciate, I didn't get it in the bathroom, but I sure did get it down here where I have a big wide open spot for a wastebasket. I think I actually spotted one back in there. Now, this RV, not designed to be moved around, towed around. So we have a little bit more of a residential style appliance set, if you notice. Like the more home style refrigerator, a very more household style, microwave size oven, things like that. We'll get there in a second. First of all, pantry space over here. It does have some motion activated lighting in it, so you can kind of see what you're doing. Notice how the shelves don't go all the way to the front though. That creates a kind of tall vertical space where if you need a spot to kind of like, you could put a couple of little broom holder hooks or something on that wall probably, and sort of make that space do some extra functions depending on what it is that you're seeking. You might notice once again a far more home style size and design of stove and oven, like the full 4-burner kind of arrangement here. A residential sized hold on, is that convection? Let me get over there. I can't quite, I think that might actually be convection. And you're thinking, well, why don't you know that, dummy? It's supposed to be your job. You're correct. I really should. I see so many RVs though that I just can't always remember every single thing. And yes, indeed, doodly, this actually is. So we have both traditional propane oven as well as convection microwave combo right there. And that actually is a stovetop vent hood combo as well. So if you are cooking up a storm over here on the stovetop or in the oven, you are actually exhausting out a lot of that hot air, which is a little bit different because normally my wife just says that all the hot air I exhaust is exhausting. So it's the same but different, I think, if you get the idea. Now, once again, the RV is not exactly level, so that GE fridge, well, the freezer portion doesn't want to do its thing. The little spiral staircase here, I think it's just more of a visual point because if you notice, there's kind of, in a sense, some wasted space back there behind it. I kind of want to say to use that like a shoe garage, but it would be a little tricky and it would be a little awkward. Now, this forward double loft, how can I say this? It's the same but different as the loft that we kind of already saw in the back. So it's the same headroom as the loft in the back. I want to point that out because sometimes when an RV has two lofts, the one loft is not the same height as the other one. You see you have the same power outlet solution. That same, this big vertical wooden boxy beam thing behind me is actually where they're going to hide the central ducting to get the air conditioner down into the bedroom. Where this one's a little bit different is that it has an extra section as compared to the back loft. So first of all, flipping 180 degrees from where I was, this is where we come up the stairway to front heaven as opposed to rear heaven. Just some handy power outlets. Again, the light switch where you can reach it, the privacy curtains. But this one, it goes out further over here. And what's interesting about this is if you look, it can create either an extra sleeping space or an extra long sleeping space because that can go all the way up to the front wall. Whereas if you look really, really closely, that's a full-size mattress section, but up front, you see how it actually, the floor stair steps up. It's not a full height mattress all the way up there. So if you try to use that as a headboard area, your upper back shoulders are probably not going to be quite as comfortable as everything else, I guess, unless you like a really firm mattress. You might also notice that's where your entertainment hookups are located. So that up there could kind of be an upper loft entertainment area if you are so inclined. What I do like, though, is that they maintain those blackout roller shades all the way through the RV. Everywhere that they possibly can, especially in those loft areas, because like if they went to metallic mini blinds to cut the corner and to save a buck, kids moving around at night would kind of half thrash those things effectively. Now this right here is just under the steps. They wanted to use the space somehow. You might notice it doesn't go all the way deep in the steps. They actually use it as closet space inside the bedroom here, which interestingly is one of the things I actually like most about this RV. The less expensive, you could say, the quote stripped down version of this floor plan, I personally feel has maybe a better bedroom arrangement. Now, we do sacrifice a couple windows to get it, but these bedroom windows, they face forward on the RV. They were really cool. We've given up one window over here and one window over here as compared to the 44 view, but you have picked up this big entertainment and storage wall that the 44 view otherwise lacks. So the 44 view has a small dresser on bottom and then just big windows. This adds probably twice as much closet space overall as compared to the 44 view. And if you noticed, you actually do have a second of these electric space heating fireplaces in here. And that front window in this RV is open for a reason. It was cooking me out of this place. Because if I flip around the other direction, this is basically the closet space the 44 view has. Not identical, very, very similar though. And it's not like it's nothing. I mean, you've got to, this is a prototype. They have to be putting hanging storage in there. I got to believe that. I want to double check that, but I can't believe they would do that pocket there without some sort of hanging capacity. But like I said, basically you have far more personal bedroom storage in this one that saves you 10 grand. But we gave up things like solid surface countertops and a couple windows and some powered shades to get there, among a few other things, but those are some of the bigger items. And I don't like to use fisheye wide angle lensing. This is it is an 80-inch long bed, but it's obviously on that power VersaTilt, which creates more space down here. What I like about this is when the bed's in the up position, one, it's just nice to have like a little bit of a lounge space. My wife and I actually watch quite a bit of TV together in our bedroom just because the lounge function of our bed is nice. But having space to actually get dressed in a bedroom, big chubby blueberry looking guy here in the bedroom with us. Let's get away from him. Having space to get dressed in the bedroom and not have to put on take your clothes all the way down this 40-foot monster just to get to that bathroom is actually really nice. Now, I would normally close the slide on an RV and call it road mode, but in the case of a destination trailer, I like to call it kind of storage mode because sometimes it's nice to be able to see when the RV's stowed away in the spring, in the fall, and you close it up, what can you get to, what can you not get to? To get to the back end, you will want to use that back door, unless you're Johnny Long Legs like me, and then you can literally just stand over the sofa. You can see how the sofa here is on wheels. It is also, oops, sorry, bumped the camera right there. It is also an RV that is not really made to be used while the slide is closed. And I think one of the greatest examples of that is when you look over here, that refrigerator is going to be flat, not available when that's closed. Now, something I don't know that I've ever really done is I don't know that I've ever really demonstrated how a hydraulic slide opens at a destination. Now, this RV has a bedroom slide, and it's an all one switch hydraulic system. So I'm holding the button right now, and the bedroom slide went out first, and then this goes out. Notice how those plants are moving with the slide. That really tripped my brain up for a second because the side stand, well, the back stand behind the sofa is all there. But isn't it kind of crazy how much of a difference that makes? Now, the outside portion of our video might be a little bit more like my underwear. She might be a little brief, just simply due to the fact that this camper is all about what's inside. There are some key details I do want to hit on. I do want to once again reiterate the fact this is not the kind of RV that is designed with the expectation and or the intent of you hooking up to it and towing it around on the weekend. As you can see, she is a brick-shaped house, and she is going to be mighty, mighty difficult to tote around all the time. That's not what it's made for. If you want to get something this size and tow it all the time, you want to look at a fifth wheel. That's why they have the fancy suspension and the auto leveling. This doesn't have that stuff. The idea behind this is that you get it there, you leave it there, and you just come to visit. And what's cool about that, you don't even necessarily need a tow vehicle for something like this, which sounds totally crazy, talking about a towable RV not needing a tow vehicle, because a lot of people will call one of our stores and say, hey, can you get this delivered to XYZ location? And we say, yep, here's how much it'll run. And there we go. So in case you're curious, yeah, we do deliver. Now, it's funny. It looks like 3 windows, doesn't it? But remember, you've got that extra closet and entertainment and fireplace up front. That is essentially, as far as I can tell, is this a decal or is this paint? Okay, that feels a little bit like a decal. It might be paint. I'm going to have to find out. I'm not actually exactly sure there. They have given these that cooler looking retro metal, which gives it a little bit of a smoother look. Not quite like fiberglass, but it does look something a little bit enhanced. You may notice too, as I back way the heck up, the awning is mounted way the heck up, because these are kind of designed with the expectation that a lot of owners and users will build a patio wooden deck on the side of this sucker. So they keep everything up really high so that if you do that, you have space for a deck. They also, you might notice, don't use those like Morride or Lippert fold down stable steps. They use the traditional, like, I don't know, accordion steps. What do you want to call those? Whatever the old style steps are right there. Because if you build a deck on this, you need to get the steps out of the way. Not everyone's going to build a deck on it, but quite a few people certainly will. Something I was very pleasantly surprised to see is that the underbelly is still enclosed and forced air heated. All of the window tint is definitely going to help control the heat vectors in this thing on a hot screaming summer day, but let's not mince words. You have a lot of thermal holes in the wall with this level of window coverage, and you might have those blackout shades drawn a lot. If I don't point this out, I'm going to get a flood of questions asking, what the flip is that? That is your bathroom side mount max air fan, basically like a truck camper, you know, essentially. Now, I'm kind of in the corner over here. If I back up a little bit, you see that I'm apparently next to some sort of factory protected, government wetlands or something like that, with some weird kind of mutant organic corn dogs growing over there. But you get the idea. I can't give you a full-on broadside shot of the sucker where she's parked. Remember, you actually do have front and rear drop frames on this, which is yet another reason I think you just want to get it there and leave it there and not tow it around. It is a walkable roof. They don't do any sort of solar stuff on this, but you see that they do ladder prep it. You got to make sure, though, you get the extra long telescopic ladder for this. You don't want those telescopic ladders standing straight vertically. That bracket is not designed to carry a lot of vertical weight. The ladder is supposed to be at a pretty serious angle. So for about every foot up, you want the base of that ladder about 3 feet out or something like that. So, you know, you're making a pretty significant triangular shape and design. Working our way back here, if I do recall, I bet this is pretty much going to have to be a 2-headed sewer. Well, no, actually, now that I think about it, all of our plumbing is located back here. Now, this is obviously right next to the ground, but again, this is an RV that's not really made to be towed around. You might notice, though, you have this extra sewer outlet sticking out vertically. I know my finger's in the camera right about there. That is the washer dryer stuff. I don't think it has its own holding tank. As far as I can tell, the washer dryer just goes straight out that pipe. So if you're going to use it, you're really going to need on-site sewer. You also have a tankless on-demand water heater. Somebody was kind enough to leave the keys in here for us. That will become useful. Look at that. What is this? Oh, crazy weird. This is the Harry Potter space under those loft stairs. It looks like it's just an access point to stuff, effectively. Okay. We have rack and pinion slides, in case you were curious. I don't see any specific slide-out awning prep on those. A lot of people don't realize you can usually still put slide awnings on things, even if they are not necessarily specifically prepped for it. One of the cool things about this, I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. I have been sneezing a lot lately. I've never had a lot of trouble with allergies, but I think ever since either I got my cat or just as I've gotten older, or a combination of the two, I've been having a lot more burning eye issues and stuff. Anyway, the retro metal is actually thicker, more impact resistant, and has a layer of anti-scratch coating called Tough Coat built right onto it. So some extra little preventative measures right there for you. Up front here, looks like freshwater fill. I don't know that you're... How many... Are people really boondocking with these things? I wouldn't think so, but just because I can't imagine it doesn't mean that people wouldn't. Maybe I'm totally crazy. I don't know. And of course, the new Forest River badging that they have on everything. So, I don't know. Overall, what do you think, everybody? Did they nail it? Did they fail it? So thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Whether you're curious or serious about the price tag on one of these, check the links in the video description. I will also try to leave you some links to some other destination models that I have recorded. And in case you want to bounce around, like maybe you're curious about, I mentioned the 44 view. If you want a bath and a half, that's the 42 view. If you want a dedicated built-on 9.5-foot deck on the back of the RV with like a hibachi griddle, basically, that would be the 42... veranda. Yeah, all these crazy names. Anyway, I always want to call it the Miranda. Not exactly correct. That sounds more like a Sex and the City character. I don't know. Anyway, when you're ready, we're ready. Until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.